Being Halloween tomorrow, I wanted to make a video that fits that overall idea. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 most scariest things in all of Star Wars. I'll discuss both Legends and canon stuff. I'm mostly going to stick with Legends, but if you think I missed some very scary Star Wars creatures, entities, or things, let me know in the comments below. And with that, let's begin with number 5. Like in real life, Star Wars has its own horror ghost creatures, and one thing in Star Wars like this are the Star Weirds. Star Weirds are a sort of dark side ghosts that float around in the deep edges of space. They tend to stay off hyperlanes and only really reside in areas that haven't been explored yet. They're said to remain fully dormant until a life form gets near them. When a Star Weird finds a victim, they'll immediately try and execute them. According to the Star Wars Ultimate Advisories Guide, Star Weirds are tall and skeletal white humanoids with flowing white hair and glowing blue eyes. They wear rags, and it's said that the face of a Star Weird will actually resemble the face of their next victim. According to that guide, a Star Weird's scream can be heard in space, and Star Weirds will either use their claws to attack victims, or that scream, or even some sort of weird version of Force lightning. They often focus their energy on attacking Force users and actually feed on the Force energy of living creatures to gain their strength. This mostly means that they're probably a dark side creature, but I'm keeping these at number 5 because they're very uncommon, and you're probably never going to find them unless you actively go out looking for one, and even if you do, you still probably will never find them because of how rare they are. Also, these are in Legends, so in the broad kind of continuity of canon, these creatures are just that, legends told by smugglers. Anyways, now let's move on to number 4. Star Weirds aren't the only type of ghosts in the Star Wars universe. Right now I want to talk about Force ghosts. Specifically, dark side Force ghosts. They work very differently from the Jedi Force ghosts and are a lot more like the horror ghosts that happen in movies. They can possess objects, whole areas, people, or just exist as singular beings. Now, I'm not going to cover them that much, but think any ghost or evil serial killer who has some sort of power in a horror movie, and that's basically like some type of forced ghost that exists for the dark side. They vary a bunch and can do kind of anything a writer wants. One notable force ghost is Exar Kun. If you want to check out one of the many videos on YouTube about force ghosts, go ahead. I'm just not going to cover them because there's things I want to cover a lot more right now, which is also kind of why I only put them at number 4. Anyways, I might make a Force Ghost video eventually, so if this video gets like 10 likes, I'll make one. Now, on to number 3. Now in this entry, I'm going to touch on a couple of different creatures. This spot goes to the multitude of giant monsters that live off the beaten path. There is something very scary about the idea that you can be traveling through a hyperspace lane and suddenly stumble on a sumo verminoth or some other giant creature like the Excoroth, which is that giant space slug we see in Empire. Since Star Wars is so large, there are so many different creatures that we've seen in canon, and also so many creatures that we just haven't, but are just so much bigger than most ships, and the risk of finding one is just really scary, I think, for the average person. To me, it feels more like the idea of a megalodon or the kraken living at the bottom of the ocean. But of course, the main difference is that space megafauna exists in the Star Wars universe and is real, while something like the megalodon is extinct and the kraken never existed in the first place, other than giant squids. It's just facts. Really what I'm saying is that it's the same type of fear, the fear of the unknown, based off of rumors, speculation, and limited amounts of proof, and also some people's personal experiences. Many people would say that something like that is very scary. The fact that you could just be traveling through the Star Wars universe and just stumble upon something like that. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I think the next two entries 2 and entries 1, are actually really good. So, now on to entry number 2. Many people would agree with me when I say that zombies, they're pretty scary. And in Star Wars, there's the Blackwing virus, also known as Project Blackwing. The Blackwing virus was introduced in the Legends novel Star Wars Death Troopers, and then in a prequel novel to that called Red Harvest. The Blackwing virus was first created by a Sith trying to have immortality, and then thousands of years later, the Empire began trying to replicate the effects for Palpatine. This is a legend story, by the way, just to get that out there, but quickly the virus escaped the research ship and turned the entire crew of the Star Destroyer into zombies. Blackwing zombies act and look just like normal zombies in modern pop culture. They communicate via hive mind and have a single goal: to infect others and feed on the flesh of anything that lives. The virus is airborne, as well as being able to infect people if the virus gets into your blood. For example, a cut, bite, or a scratch. Some people are immune to the virus due to their genetics, but it's rare, and it is possible to be vaccinated against the virus, but there are only 2 people who were ever vaccinated to my immediate knowledge, and those 2 people were Han Solo and Chewbacca. Again, it's legends, so how they didn't remember there were zombies, I don't know. But the zombies can learn from those who they infect, and are occasionally capable of using blasters, flying ships, and other things. This is rare, though, and I don't think most can. The main thing that prevents them from spreading around the galaxy is that they're stuck floating in space on only a couple of ships, and if a single zombie gets too far away from the hive mind, they just fall over and just become a normal corpse. A person can turn into one of these Blackwing zombies either after they're dead or while they're still alive, and it's a pretty slow process, taking a couple hours and in some cases even a couple days. Now, these zombies can be killed, though they're harder to destroy than a normal person. They'll take a couple of blaster bolts to die, and there's actually a really cool mod for OG Battlefront 2 for this, and it's really epic. And there's also a couple of indie horror games about this, which I think are really fun, and if you want to test those out, you definitely should. Now, the Blackwing virus zombies were nicknamed Death Troopers, and are rumored to be the inspiration for the Imperial Death Troopers that we see in Rogue One, and now in a bunch of other stuff. A quick bonus about the zombies: the Night Sisters are also able to revive dead creatures, but it seems to be different from this, and kind of like the Night Sisters revive corpses temporarily to do their bidding specifically, but the zombies don't really have like a craving for human flesh. They're undead, but they're more of an army that's just slightly sentient. Now, while most people agree that the Blackwing virus is legends, it does exist in the Star Wars timeline, but really only in the way that it's conspiracy theory instead of actually being a thing that existed. Now, the Emperor did in fact name Death Troopers to harness on the fear of undead troopers, and Blackwing zombies are often represented in Stormtrooper armor because of how the virus broke free of the Imperial lab. It infected the whole Stormtrooper complement and turned them into zombies. So that's why if you search up Death Troopers, Star Wars, or whatever, it'll either show you the canon Death Troopers or it'll show you these undead Stormtroopers, basically. Now, it's not just Stormtroopers, but a lot of them are, and it's how they're represented in pop culture and stuff. We also kind of get to see a little bit of an interpretation of this with the undead Night Troopers in the new Star Wars Ahsoka Season 1. Abeloth is my pick for most scary thing in all of Star Wars. Abeloth is commonly referred to as the mother of all evil, and is basically the final boss of Star Wars Legends. Abeloth was a member of the Ones, also known as the Mortis Gods, which are the same characters we meet in the Clone Wars Mortis arc, Before she officially became Abeloth, she was known as the Mother or the Servant. Now, again, this is a Legends character, as most of the things on these lists are, so there might be some inconsistencies. Anyways, Abeloth was mortal, unlike the rest of her Mortis counterparts, and she craved for the same immortality as the rest of her family as she started to become older, and she knew that she would die of old age while they would stay forever young. To try and achieve this immortality, she drank from the fountain of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge. The pool of knowledge being the thing that gives the sister their power, and then the fountain of power being the thing that gives the son their power. Because of this, she became corrupted and was twisted into Abeloth. When the father found out about this, he left with both the son and the daughter, leaving Abeloth on a random planet. The Mortis gods basically vowed to keep Abeloth imprisoned forever, and because they all died, she was able to escape with the help of Jason Solo, who accidentally freed Abeloth from their prison. She basically caused chaos for a while, possessed many Jedi and higher-ups in the New Republic, caused chaos, and basically did some crazy shit for a while, having multiple avatars and possessing people before Luke Skywalker was able to get his hands on the Mortis dagger and end her life permanently. Or at least for a long fucking time, pardon my language, of course. Now, the character design of Abeloth has changed a bunch, and you've kind of been able to see a couple of those different designs flashing on screen, but there really is no one look to her. And she also has this really high list of powers. So the Villains Wiki mentions a couple of them, so let me just read off the list. We have Mastery of the Dark Side of the Force, capability of being in multiple places at one time through various avatars, genius level intellect, teleportation via folding space, possession, immortality, can only truly be killed by the Dagger of Mortis, capability of influencing people's minds from light years away, ability to see into the future through flow walking, ability to merge her force presence with a computer, deception, charisma, hand-to-hand tentacle combat, manipulation, election fraud mastery. I particularly love that election fraud mastery one. Also, I did forget to mention, she has tentacle arms, which is just kind of wacky. But anyways, those are just a few kind of powers she has, and she has a bunch of others too, but I think this is just the ones the Villains Wiki thought was most important to mention. Along with all of these powers I listed, she can also do pretty much anything Sith-related. That includes Sith alchemy, Force lightning, and pretty much anything you can think of because of the scale of what the dark side allows. Now, I put Abeloth here at the top of the list because of their kind of title of main villain of Star Wars Legends, and I guess technically of all Star Wars in general, but not really anymore. But like when Legends was canon, they were kind of supposed to be the main villain of Star Wars overall, next to the Yuuzhan Vong, which I probably should have added on this list here, but I kind of just forgot about them. Anyways, the media we see them in constantly refer to them as the most strongest and evil thing in all of Star Wars, and while they're not portrayed really as a horror character, what they can do makes them quite scary for someone in the Star Wars universe. I mean, they really kind of destroy the New Republic to a level pretty similar to like the Yuuzhan Vong, and left some really heavy scars on the New Republic's governing body, and on Luke particularly. For example, one of the first people they ever possessed was Luke's kind of like ex-romantic partner, which didn't go so well for his mental health. Anyways, those are my top 5 scariest things in Star Wars that I think deserve to be known as the scariest things. Now, of course, I left some things off, like I just mentioned the Yuuzhan Vong, but if you think I forgot something really important, please let me know in the comments, as I can always make this list better and make a part 2 or whatever. And with that, peace the hell out.